It was just another quiet afternoon in the café, until two arrogant boys decided to make fun of the wrong person. They laughed, mocked, and humiliated a young man who never fought back. But what they didn't know was that the man standing outside the door, silently watching, wasn't just his father. He was the boss of the Mafia. It was a chilly Friday morning when a young boy named Jamal walked into a small café on the corner of Maple Street. The café was buzzing with laughter, the smell of coffee, and the clinking of cups. Jamal wore a plain gray hoodie, slightly worn shoes, and carried an old backpack over one shoulder. He looked tired, but there was kindness in his eyes, the kind of calm that made people feel safe around him. He had been coming to this café every morning for the past week. He'd sit at the same corner table, order the cheapest coffee on the menu, and quietly read from an old notebook. Nobody really knew him, and he didn't speak much. To most people there, he was just another teenager trying to stay warm before school. But that morning, something was different. At a nearby table sat Ryan and Chad, two local high school seniors known for their arrogance. Their families were wealthy, their clothes were expensive, and their pride was even more so. They liked being the center of attention, the loud laughs, the way people looked at them, the fear they caused among younger students. Ryan leaned back in his chair, scrolling through his phone, while Chad stirred his coffee lazily. "Look who's here again," Ryan muttered with a smirk, nudging Chad. "The charity case." Chad chuckled. "Man, he's always alone. Probably can't even afford breakfast." Their voices were loud enough for a few people to hear, but Jamal stayed silent. He opened his notebook and began writing, pretending not to notice. Inside, his hands trembled slightly, not from fear, but from anger he was trying to control. Behind the counter, Mia, the young waitress, noticed what was happening. She'd seen this kind of thing before: the quiet kid, the bullies, the snickers and whispers. She walked over to Jamal's table with a gentle smile. "Hey, Jamal," she said softly, placing a cup on his table. "Here's something extra for you, on the house." He looked up, surprised. "I didn't order this." "I know," she said. "You look like you could use a little warmth." He smiled faintly. "Thank you." Ryan rolled his eyes and said loudly, "Oh wow, free stuff for the poor boy. Maybe he'll write a thank you poem about it in his notebook." The café went silent for a moment. A few customers looked over, but quickly turned away, not wanting to get involved. Mia glared at Ryan. "You don't have to be rude," she snapped. Ryan grinned. "Relax, sweetheart. We're just having fun, right, Chad?" Chad laughed, but Jamal stayed still. His eyes lowered to the notebook, where he wrote a single line. "Some people speak to feel strong. Others stay silent because they already are." He took a sip of coffee and didn't say a word. Minutes passed, the café filled with the smell of baked croissants. Outside, cars splashed through puddles, and a light drizzle began to fall. Inside, tension quietly brewed between two tables, one of arrogance, one of calm dignity. Ryan couldn't stand being ignored. He stood up, walking toward Jamal's table. Chad followed, smirking. So, you think you're better than us because you don't talk? Jamal looked up slowly. His voice was soft but steady. No, I just think there's no point talking to people who already decided what they believe. What's that supposed to mean? Ryan frowned. It means, Jamal said, closing his notebook, you only see what you want to see. Bruh, this guy's got an attitude, Chad snorted. Yeah, maybe we should teach him some manners, Ryan laughed mockingly. Mia stepped in quickly. That's enough, both of you, she said sharply. If you can't behave, you can leave. Ryan smirked. Relax, sweetheart. We're just talking. But his tone wasn't friendly. It was threatening. Jamal stood up, slowly, his calm still intact. He was a little shorter than Ryan, but there was something about his gaze, a quiet strength that made Ryan hesitate for a second. I don't want trouble, Jamal said. Let's just forget it. Ryan leaned closer, his breath hot with arrogance. Oh, you'll get trouble, trust me. Jamal turned to leave, but as he reached the door, Ryan muttered something under his breath. Something cruel, personal. Jamal froze. He turned his head slightly, eyes narrowing, not in rage, but in warning. Ryan smirked, thinking he'd won. But in that moment, Chad noticed something strange. As Jamal turned, the sleeve of his hoodie lifted slightly, revealing a tattoo on his wrist. It wasn't random. It was a small crest, the symbol of the Salvatore, a name whispered in fear across the city's underworld. Chad blinked, confused. Wait, Ryan, that mark! I've seen it before. Isn't that... Ryan cut him off. What? Stop talking nonsense. But Chad couldn't shake the feeling. His father once mentioned the Salvatore, the most feared crime family in the city. If that tattoo meant what he thought it did... Jamal walked out of the café without another word, the rain soaking into his hoodie. Mia exhaled deeply. You guys should be ashamed of yourselves. You have no idea what people go through. Ryan just shrugged. Whatever. He's just some broke kid. Chad didn't respond. He stared at the door, a hint of unease growing in his gut. Outside, Jamal walked down the empty street, his reflection rippling in puddles. He pulled out his phone and typed a short message. They did it again. I didn't fight back, but I think they'll need a lesson soon. He pressed send. The screen flashed a reply within seconds. Understood. We'll handle it. Jamal sighed. He didn't want violence. He didn't want revenge. But sometimes silence wasn't enough. Music shifts, darker, slower, with a faint bass line hinting danger. That night, the cafe lights dimmed early. Rain kept falling, and far across the city, in a grand mansion overlooking the skyline, a man in a black suit read Jamal's message. He leaned back in his chair, eyes cold and calculating. Who touched my son? He whispered. The man's name was Mr. Salvatore, the boss of the most powerful Mafia family in the city. And tomorrow, the Bullies' world would never be the same again. The next morning, the café was busy again. The same laughter, the same noise, the same people. But something in the air felt off. Mia felt it the moment she stepped in. Maybe it was the weather. Gray clouds loomed outside, and thunder grumbled faintly in the distance. Or maybe it was because Jamal hadn't shown up yet. She looked toward the corner where he usually sat, the old table near the window, the one with the scratched wood and the wobbly leg. Empty. Mia sighed. She'd seen too many good-hearted people get pushed away by others' cruelty. And then, just before noon, the cafe door creaked open. Jamal walked in. Same hoodie, same backpack, but his eyes looked different. Colder, distant. Still calm, but with a quiet fire behind them. He went straight to his table, ordered his usual coffee, and opened his notebook. Across the room, Ryan and Chad were already there, surrounded by a few of their friends, 3 guys and a girl, all dressed in trendy clothes, their phones out, ready for entertainment. Ryan smirked when he saw Jamal. "Look who decided to show up," he whispered. "Guess he missed our morning jokes." Chad didn't laugh this time. He stared at Jamal, remembering that strange tattoo he saw yesterday. Something in him said not to mess around today. But Ryan didn't care. He loved an audience. He leaned back in his chair, loud enough for everyone nearby to hear. "Yo, Chad, let's ask our new friend something. Hey, Jamal!" Jamal looked up slowly. "What?" Ryan grinned. "How's life, man? Must be tough pretending you're someone important when you can barely afford a muffin." The group laughed. Phones pointed toward Jamal. Someone was already recording. Mia stepped forward immediately. "Ryan, stop it. You're not funny." Ryan smirked. "Relax, Mia. We're just talking. I'm sure Jamal doesn't mind." Jamal closed his notebook. "You know," he said quietly, "you should really stop before things go too far." Ryan raised his eyebrows. "Or what? You'll write me a poem about it?" More laughter. The camera zoomed closer. Jamal took a deep breath, stood up, and stared at Ryan, not with anger, but with something sharper. Calm, dominance. "You think being loud makes you powerful, but you'll find out soon, real power doesn't need to shout." Ryan's grin faltered for a moment, but then he laughed, forcing it. "You're threatening me now?" Chad stood, placing a hand on Ryan's shoulder. "Bro, let it go." Ryan shrugged him off. "Nah, man, he's asking for it." He turned toward Jamal again, voice dripping with sarcasm. "Tell you what, hero, why don't you prove you're tough? Come on, say something funny. Or maybe dance for us." Mia's patience snapped. "Ryan, get out. You're banned from this cafe if you don't stop." But Ryan only smiled. "Oh, I'm not done yet." He reached for Jamal's notebook, snatching it from the table before Jamal could react. "Hey!" Mia shouted. Ryan flipped through the pages, laughing. "What's this? Never let the noise of others drown your silence? Bro, this is some deep emo stuff." The others laughed. Chad didn't. His gut twisted. Something told him they were crossing a line they'd regret. Jamal's voice was low. "Give it back." Ryan waved the notebook mockingly. "Or what? You'll cry?" He turned the book around, pretending to read dramatically. "My name is Jamal. I dream of being more than what people see." How inspiring. The cafe went silent again. Everyone could feel it. The energy had shifted. Jamal's expression didn't change, but his presence filled the room. "Last chance," Jamal said quietly. "Give it back." Ryan rolled his eyes. "Oh, I'm shaking already." Chad muttered under his breath. "Ryan, stop. I'm serious, man. Something's wrong here." Ryan ignored him. "You know what? Maybe we should help our friend feel included." Before anyone could react, he grabbed Jamal's cup of coffee and poured it across the table, spilling it over Jamal's notebook. Mia gasped, "Ryan!" Jamal stood perfectly still, the hot liquid dripping on his hand, but his expression stayed calm. He looked Ryan straight in the eye. "You'll regret that." Ryan laughed nervously. "Oh yeah? Who's gonna make me?" At that exact moment, the cafe door opened. 3 men in black suits entered, silent, expressionless, their eyes scanning the room. The atmosphere dropped instantly. Conversation stopped. Even the music seemed to fade. Mia froze. Ryan's laughter died in his throat. The men didn't say a word. They walked straight to the counter and handed the manager a small envelope. "For Miss Mia," one of them said quietly. Mia took it, confused. Inside was a note on fine paper with gold edges. It read, "Thank you for your kindness to my son. S." She slight hair cut. S. Could it be? Ryan whispered to Chad, "What the hell is going on here?" Chad's hands were trembling. "Ryan, I think we messed with the wrong guy." Ryan ignored him. "Okay, whatever, maybe he's just related to some rich dude." But deep down, he knew something big was coming. Outside, Jamal walked into the storm. Raindrops pounded the pavement, lightning flashed in the distance. He took out his phone again, typing a single message. "They poured coffee on my notebook." Within seconds, the reply came. "They disrespected more than that. Tomorrow, we visit." Jamal closed his phone. He didn't smile. He didn't feel proud. He just whispered quietly to himself, "I told them to stop." The next day arrived heavy with rain. Dark clouds smothered the sky, and the streets glistened like black mirrors. Inside the cafe, Mia tried to stay focused, but her hands kept trembling. She'd barely slept. All night she replayed yesterday's scene in her mind. Jamal's calm face, the men in suits, and that elegant note, signed only with an S. She didn't know who S was, but the way those men had entered, silent and confident, it didn't feel normal. By noon, the cafe was busier than ever. Ryan and his crew sat at their usual table again, acting as if nothing happened. Chad looked anxious, eyes darting toward the door every few minutes. "Bro, can you chill? You've been acting weird since yesterday," Ryan snapped. Chad leaned forward. "Ryan, listen to me. That symbol on Jamal's wrist, I looked it up. It's real, man. The Salvatore family." Ryan frowned. "So? What does that even mean?" "It means," Chad whispered, "his dad could be connected to the Mafia, the real one. They run half the city's underground business, clubs, casinos, ports, everything. People don't cross them." Ryan chuckled, though his laugh sounded forced. "Oh, come on, Chad. You believe those urban legends? He's just some broke kid trying to act tough." Chad shook his head. "You didn't see how those men looked at him yesterday." Ryan sipped his drink, trying to brush off the tension. "Relax. Even if he's connected, what's he gonna do? Cry to his daddy?" But deep down, a small seed of doubt had already taken root in Ryan's mind. Mia wiped the counter, glancing at the door. Something told her Jamal wouldn't show up today, or if he did, nothing would be the same. And then the bell above the door jingled. Jamal stepped in. He wasn't wearing his gray hoodie this time. He wore a black jacket, clean jeans, and his expression was unreadable. Calm as always, but there was something colder in his eyes. Something that made the whole cafe go quiet for a second. He walked to the counter. "Morning, Mia," he said quietly. "Morning, Jamal. Are you okay?" He nodded. "Yeah. Don't worry. I'm not here for trouble." Ryan whispered to his friends. "Guess he didn't get enough humiliation last time." Mia glared at him. "Ryan, not today. I'm serious." Jamal turned, his gaze landing on Ryan's table. Their eyes met, and for the first time, Ryan felt a flicker of unease. Jamal walked to his usual spot, sat down, and opened his notebook. The pages were warped from yesterday's spilled coffee, but he started writing anyway. Ryan smirked, trying to shake off the discomfort. "Unbelievable," he muttered. "The guy still comes back." He stood up. "Let's give him another show." "Ryan, don't," Chad said quickly. "I'm not kidding, man." Ryan ignored him. "What's he gonna do, write me a death threat?" He approached Jamal's table. "So," Ryan said loudly, "you didn't learn your place yet?" Jamal didn't look up. "Go away." Ryan chuckled. "You think you can talk to me like that after yesterday?" Jamal finally looked up, eyes calm but sharp. "Yesterday I gave you a warning. Today you'll understand it." Ryan grinned. "Oh yeah? Let's see what you got." And then it happened. Fast and brutal. Ryan shoved Jamal's shoulder. "Come on, do something." Jamal stayed still. Ryan shoved again, harder this time. Mia shouted, "Ryan, stop!" But Ryan didn't stop. He leaned in close, sneering, "You're nothing but a—" Before he could finish, Jamal stood up and moved. It wasn't wild or desperate, it was controlled, precise. He grabbed Ryan's wrist mid-shove, twisted it gently but firmly, forcing Ryan to step back in shock. "Let go!" Ryan yelled. Jamal's voice was low, steady. "I told you, don't touch me." Ryan tried to swing, and that's when he made his biggest mistake. Jamal blocked the punch effortlessly and pushed him back. Ryan staggered, tripping over a chair, falling to the floor with a crash. Gasps filled the café, cups rattled, people turned their heads. Ryan jumped up, face red with rage. "You're dead!" he shouted, and swung again. This time the punch connected, a clean hit to Jamal's jaw. The café froze. Mia screamed, "Stop it!" But it was too late. Before anyone could move, the café door swung open hard. 5 men in black suits entered, dripping rain, their shoes clicking against the floor. Every head turned. The leader, tall, calm, wearing black gloves, walked straight to Jamal. "Are you all right, sir?" he asked respectfully. "Sir?" Ryan blinked. Jamal nodded slightly. "I'm fine." Ryan's friends backed away. Chad whispered, "Ryan, I told you, man." The leader turned toward Ryan, his expression ice cold. "Did you touch him?" Ryan stammered, I. Another man stepped forward, cracking his knuckles. "Boss won't be happy." "Boss?" Ryan repeated weakly. The leader glanced at Jamal. "Should we call him?" Jamal looked down, sighing. "No, not yet." But the damage was already done. The other customers backed away, whispering. The cafe that once smelled of coffee now reeked of fear. Jamal picked up his notebook, placed a few bills on the counter for Mia, and said quietly, "Sorry for the mess." Then he looked at Ryan one last time. "You wanted to know what I'd do if you hit me?" Ryan swallowed hard. "What?" Jamal's eyes met his, calm, steady, merciless. "You'll find out tonight." He turned and walked out, followed by the men in suits. Outside, the rain had stopped, but thunder still echoed somewhere far away. Ryan stood frozen, his chest heaving. What does he mean?" Chad sank into his chair, pale as paper. "It means you just punched the son of the most dangerous man in this city." Mia whispered to herself, "Oh my God." Ryan laughed nervously. "Come on, that's crazy. He's bluffing. He's just some kid." But even as he said it, the front window of the cafe rattled from the roar of a black car speeding past outside. Tinted windows, license plate completely blank. Ryan's voice faltered. "No, no way!" Chad whispered, "That's them. That's the Salvatoris." Ryan sat down slowly, his hands trembling. For the first time in his life, he was scared. Truly scared. Because bullies love control, but when control is gone, fear replaces it. Fast. And that night, Ryan would learn what fear really felt like. Music deepens. Low bass, echoing heartbeat sounds. Across town, in a dimly lit mansion filled with shadows and silence, Mr. Salvatore stood by the window. His sharp eyes watched the city lights below. One of his men entered quietly. "Sir, it happened." Salvatore turned slowly. "He hit my son?" "Yes, sir." Salvatore's jaw tightened. "Then tonight, we remind them who they touched." The man nodded. "Understood." Salvatore looked at a framed photo of Jamal as a child, smiling. His voice softened. He never wanted this life, but the world keeps pushing him. He picked up his phone, dialing a number. "Prepare the cars," he said. "We visit the café at dawn." Morning arrived gray and heavy. The storm from the night before had washed the streets clean, but inside the café, the air still felt thick with yesterday's fear. Mia opened the shop early, hoping a few quiet hours would calm her nerves. She looked at the clock, 8 a.m. Then the doorbell jingled. A man stepped in, tall, impeccably dressed in a dark suit, silver hair slicked back, eyes sharp but calm. He carried no umbrella, even though the rain still fell outside. Behind him walked two men in matching suits, who stopped near the door, silent, watchful. The cafe went silent. Customers froze, sensing something different about this visitor, the way he moved, the quiet authority around him. Mia's heart skipped. She recognized him from news stories, whispered gossip, and the signature S on that letter. It was Mr. Salvatore. He approached the counter slowly, his polished shoes echoing against the tile. "Good morning," he said, voice deep but warm. "You must be Mia." She nodded nervously. "Yes, sir." "I came to thank you. I showed kindness to my son when others did not." Mia swallowed hard. "Jamal's a good kid. He didn't deserve what happened." Salvatore's eyes softened. "I know. He's always been patient. Too patient, maybe." He looked around the cafe, at the tables, the windows, the familiar scent of coffee and cinnamon. He said he likes this place, says it's peaceful. Before Mia could reply, the door opened again. Ryan and Chad entered. They stopped cold the moment they saw him. Ryan's voice cracked. "You've got to be kidding me!" Chad whispered, "That's him." Mr. Salvatore turned, meeting their eyes. "Ryan, Chad, yes, I know your names." Ryan stammered, "Look, sir, We didn't. Salvatore raised a hand. Please, sit. The two bullies sat down immediately. The bodyguards stayed by the door, saying nothing. Salvatore joined them at the table. He didn't shout, didn't glare. He simply looked at them, calmly, steadily, until Ryan could barely breathe. Yesterday, Salvatore began, my son was insulted and hit in this very place. Tell me, why? Ryan's mouth opened, but no sound came out. Chad finally spoke. We thought he was just some kid, sir. We didn't know who he was. Salvatore nodded slowly. And if he was just some kid, does that make it acceptable? Silence. He leaned forward, his voice dropping to a quiet intensity. You see, that's the problem with people today. They respect power, but not character. They bow to titles, not to decency. Ryan looked down, ashamed. Salvatore continued. My son tries to live quietly. He doesn't use my name to protect himself. He believes people should earn respect, not inherit it. Yesterday, you proved why he's right. Chad whispered, We're sorry, sir. I don't need your apology, Salvatore said gently. He does. At that moment, the door opened once more, and Jamal walked in. He froze when he saw his father at the table. Dad? Salvatore smiled faintly. Sit down, son. Jamal hesitated, but obeyed. For a long moment, nobody spoke. The only sound was the steady hum of the coffee machine behind the counter. Finally, Salvatore turned to Jamal. They want to apologize. Ryan swallowed hard. Jamal, we were wrong. Completely wrong. You didn't deserve any of it. Chad nodded quickly. We're sorry, man. For everything. Jamal looked at them quietly. It's not about me, he said. You do this to people all the time, don't you? The quiet ones, the ones who can't fight back. Ryan's eyes filled with guilt. Yeah, we did, and it stops now. Jamal nodded slowly. Good, because one day you'll meet someone who doesn't forgive as easily. Salvatore leaned back, eyes glinting. He's right. You're lucky my son values peace more than I do. Ryan's breath caught, but then Salvatore's tone softened. Still, I believe in redemption. I don't destroy mistakes. I correct them. He pulled 2 envelopes from his coat pocket and placed them on the table. These, he said, are letters of recommendation. My company runs a youth outreach program. If you truly want to change, you'll report there this afternoon. No excuses. Ryan blinked. Wait, you're giving us jobs. Not jobs, chances. You will serve, volunteer, and learn what respect really means. You'll spend time helping the very people you once mocked. Chad nodded eagerly. We will, sir, I promise. Salvatore smiled faintly. Good. Let's see if your promises weigh more than your pride. He stood up, buttoning his coat. Mia, thank you for the coffee. She smiled nervously. Of course, sir. He turned to Jamal. Come, son. But Jamal didn't move right away. He looked at Ryan and Chad, 2 faces now humbled, stripped of arrogance. People change when someone gives them a reason to, Jamal said quietly. So I'll give you one. Make this right not for me, but for everyone else you ever made feel small. Ryan nodded, voice trembling. We will. Jamal finally stood and followed his father out. The men in suits opened the door, letting in the cold morning air. As they stepped outside, Salvatore placed a hand on Jamal's shoulder. You handled this well. Jamal sighed. I didn't want you involved. His father smiled. I know, but sometimes power isn't about fear. It's about showing people a better way. They walked toward a waiting car, the rain easing to a gentle drizzle. Inside the café, Mia watched them leave. The tension that had hung in the air for days slowly faded, replaced by something lighter: respect. Ryan and Chad sat in silence. Finally, Ryan said softly, "He could have destroyed us." Chad nodded, "Yeah, but instead he gave us a second chance." Ryan looked out the window, watching the black car disappear into the gray morning. Guess that's what real power looks like. Later that day, Mia found Jamal's notebook left on the table. On the last page, a new line was written in neat handwriting. Strength isn't in revenge, it's in restraint. And sometimes the loudest answer is forgiveness.